Hey boys and girls, welcome to another super exciting, outrageous toy review. Today, we're taking a look at the top 5 Masters of the Universe figures from 1983. We previously took a look at the best 5 figures from the first year. Now we're moving to the round 2. Time for some new parts to be added to the mix and some new crazy characters. Who do you think should be number 1? Stay tuned to find out. In 5th place from 1983, we've got ManEfaces. He's an actor. He's a heroic warrior. His name's ManEfaces, but he's really got 3. I mean, it's more than I do, but it's not that many. I almost left ManEfaces off the list completely, but there's not a lot of competition in 1983, and a few of the toy collectors in the small batch I pulled for input on this list, they were fighting for this guy. So, here we go. ManEfaces is a robotic man with a man face? And a monster face? And a robot face. I mean, the robot face makes sense. Take me to your leader. I'm half robot. The man face makes sense. Maybe that's what his face was like when he started, but the monster face? Where does that come from? Yeah, that one just doesn't quite tie in, and I also wonder with the size of this thing, I guess they couldn't, but I mean, wouldn't it be great if they could have fit one more face on him and have him have at least 4 faces to, you know, play up that Manny? I don't know. He does feature some new tooling. We got new arms. You know, it's 1983. We don't have to recycle all the parts from the previous years, but we kept that same problem with the open hand. Ugh, I just don't like that open hand. I wish he could hold a weapon in both hands. He does still have the power punch. Whoosh, whoosh. And this time ManEfaces comes with a blaster. I am not a huge fan of the weapons, the gun type weapons in Masters of the Universe. They're okay. Some of them I do like. But I prefer swords and sorcery in my He-Man stuff. So that's one of the things working against him. There are 2 versions of his gun. I don't know how he's supposed to hold the fat version. It doesn't really fit in the open hand. You could sort of wedge it over his finger. I think I've done it before like that. I don't know what the story is with that gun. This gun fits perfectly in his hand. It seems like that's the gun he should have always come with. I'm not saying he's a bad figure, but I do think his gimmick really hurt his sculpt. That barrel chest with the wires on it and the big helmet just doesn't look as good as the other Masters of the Universe figures we had in the previous year. And in the number 4 spot, we've got Mekaneck. I have to say, Mekaneck was one of my favorite figures as a kid, so maybe I'm a little biased on this one. Maybe he's ranking a little higher than he should, but I think he's pretty cool. What kid doesn't want a crazy, weird spaceman barbarian with silver boots? Clearly, Mekaneck and Blue Snaggletooth from the Kenner Star Wars line have been shopping at the same spaceport. Mekaneck comes with a giant yellow club, much larger than Man-at-Arms club, much more effective in combat. He's got some crazy red and silver armor. I don't know what the deal is with the thing in front of his mouth. Is that a microphone for him reporting back to Man-at-Arms? Is it a rebreather for breathing different air? I'm not sure, but his amazing star-shaped helmet and vac metal mirrored sunglasses are just awesome. I always assumed that those glasses were like binoculars. Mekaneck is one of the first figures to not have the power punch action, and instead when you rotate his wrist, his neck extends. Based on his name there, Mekaneck, you can see he's got that crazy robotic neck. It doesn't extend super far. In some iterations, some of the comics and cartoons and stuff, it definitely stretches further to give him more of an advantage, but it's enough to spark the imagination as a kid. I used to like to have him peek over the tower of Castle Grayskull. Just his eyes, you know. He could look up higher than everybody else and spy out to see what was going on, like a periscope. I don't know if this is an official variation or maybe just something that happened from aging or the different paint from a different factory, but my one Mekaneck figure has much shinier silver boots than the other one. And in all my years collecting Masters of the Universe, this is the only Mekaneck chest plate I've ever seen that's missing the silver details. I have a couple different front plates that have the silver paint apps, but somehow this one got left off. I don't know if there is any sort of official variation of that, or if this one happens to be a paint mishap. Mekaneck's got a dark green belt to go with his black furry pants, his silver furry boots. I do like that they took the effort to paint his hands. I know the paint rubs off of Mekaneck's hands a lot, but as a kid I thought that looked so much better than, say, Man-at-Arms, who had green hands that matched his body. It made it a little bit easier to imagine he's wearing clothing. It's just odd when the gloves and the arms and the body and everything is all one color. It just seems strange. This seems a little bit more practical. In the third place spot, we've got Evil-Lyn. Now, Tila did not make my list for 1982, but Evil-Lyn, which is basically the same figure, made it for 83. Again, less competition, but I think this figure is more striking. Yes, she has less weapons. She comes with a staff, a magic wand, no shield, no additional armor, but that yellow skin with the 2 shades of blue is just striking. It just stands out. It sits on a toy shelf and screams to be looked at, compared to Tila, who's just a white chick with a white outfit with some red details and gold details. She just is much more bland. I really like the Evil-Lyn figure. I think she's cool. The talons holding the sphere on the end of her staff is awesome. She has the power punch feature that the boys have. She does also suffer from the lame hand that can't hold any accessories. But it's not too bad for casting spells, but it is a little bit weird. I think she's got a better looking face too. I mean, it's strange, but it just works somehow as an evil character. In the number 2 spot, I've got Triclops. Very similar to ManEfaces. I do understand that. But his figure doesn't suffer from bad tooling. His torso still looks good. He still looks normal. He just has a weird head, which has the spinny action feature. I also love his sword. I love his armor. To me, he feels more interesting and fits in better with the rest of the characters. Triclops is the first Masters of the Universe character to feature this rubbery armor. Like I said, his action feature is that the eyes can rotate around. I think the cartoon said he had different types of vision or different types of like effects he could use. I used to pretend it had to do with his attitude. This head just seems kind of normal, slightly agitated, and really mad. He's got a cool green sword, and that sword can be stored on his back, which I also thought was pretty cool. Freeing up that one hand that can hold stuff. Triclops has paint applications on his head, on his armor, his bracers, which are often unpainted, and unfortunately the inside is not painted on this figure. I think that's pretty common with Triclops, and unless this is a paint error, I think they all had the back of his belt unpainted as well. And in the number 1 spot, my favorite figure from 1983, and one of my all-time favorite Masters of the Universe figures, Trapjaw. Trapjaw is a very unique figure in the world of Masters of the Universe, but he really just recycles a bunch of ideas that Mattel already had. There was a character in the Big Jim line that used this mechanical jaw piece and the interchangeable hands already. So they were just sort of recycling ideas, but they created a very iconic Masters of the Universe character using it. Trapjaw has bright blue skin for his chest, unless he's wearing a unitard like Man-at-Arms, and he's got green skin on his face. He has this awesome articulated mechanical jaw, chomp, 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 and he's wearing like a knight's helmet that has a little loop on the top, and the commercial for the toy showed kids putting string through there and using it as a zip line. I never did that as a kid with the figure, but I do think it's interesting. I remember actually making a joke about him the first time I saw him, that you could hang him on a Christmas tree with an ornament hook. Like all the Masters of the Universe figures, he comes with one hand that can't hold accessories, which is kind of a shame, especially considering this hand had some new tooling going on there. And his other arm is this really cool looking mechanical arm that has interchangeable hands. So this laser gun can come off. He has a pincher hand, which I think is my least favorite of his attachments. And he has a hook hand. Trapjaw has the traditional furry underpants most He-Man characters have, but he has an additional belt piece that covers up that standard belt. He shares his legs with ManEfaces, and this is intentional part reuse, which is very common in the Masters of the Universe line. But because it was just 2 characters from that year, and they weren't the same monster feet or furry boot feet that we saw with the previous waves, they felt fresh and new. The cool thing about Trapjaw's belt is that it actually has loops. for hanging his additional accessories on. So that's how I rank the Masters of the Universe from 1983. In the comments down below, let me know if you agree or disagree with my list. Make sure to like, subscribe, and check out our other vintage Motu videos here on SEO Toy Review.